Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's new video. In this video, we're gonna be inviting an amazing woman, co-founder, data analyst Joycelyn, who is building Ghana's career and self-development community for young professionals. It's gonna be such an interesting conversation as she takes us on her journey. Joycelyn is a data analyst and co-founder of Kixara, an AI startup, and also co-founder of Purpose Circle, a career and self-development community for young professionals who just don't want skills, but direction, opportunities, accountability, and network access. Joycelyn has tutored over 80 women across the countries Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, UK, and Zimbabwe through hands-on project-based training in Excel, SQL, Python, and Power BI. In addition to her work in data and AI, Joycelyn is a member of the Women in International Security WIS, an organization committed to advancing the leadership and professional development of women in international peace and security. Joycelyn is on a mission to drive innovation and impact. Joycelyn draws her experience in healthcare, finance, and tech to solve real-world problems with data while equipping and inspiring the next generation of young people. Hi, Joycelyn. So happy to have you. Today, I want to discuss how you went from studying accounting to going into the world of data to building an AI startup in Ghana. It will be from Ghana to the world
Of
literally
course,
in
of
years to
course.
come. Can you just take us a bit into that journey? Why did you decide to go into the world of data from accounting?
Okay. I always say this before I tell my transition story. About transitioning into tech because of the money, some too because like a relative has told them to do that, and many other reasons. But I have a pretty different reason. After school, I think after my thesis, like for final year, when we were done with our exams and everything, and I went home, I knew I was going to enter into like another piece of my life because I'm done with uni, what next? And in Ghana, the story is, we are in Nigeria, so I'm sure there are similarities, but yeah, they always talk about unemployment, how to get in here and in here and in here. So like, it's crazy. Like, it's a crazy world out there after school. And so, like the child of God that I am, I took some time off to have a retreat and pray concerning my finances. Basically, it was a 7-day retreat where I totally isolated. I was on social media, turned my phone off and everything. I went to pray to hear God for the next phase of my life. And prior to that retreat, actually, my final year, I had applied to get into one of the big four audit firms. As far as I was concerned at the time, my dream was to be a chartered accountant. I wanted to be a chartered accountant. So, and every student wants to go to big four, PwC, Deloitte, EY, the big four. So I had actually gotten into one. I had applied for one of their graduate trainee programs. I got in, faced a panel of like 7 to 8 people, crashed the interview and everything. Personally, I was pretty confident that I was going to get the job. And I did. I got the job. But while I was praying, God specifically told me that, yeah, although I was going to get the role at a big four audit firm, He wouldn't want me to pursue that anymore. And that was like, okay, so what next? It sounds cool when it's being told, but at that time I was very hot because how am I going to tell my father that I'm not going to pursue a career in accounting anymore? That phase of my life was a pretty interesting one. I wouldn't want to go into too much about here, but yeah, I listened. So when I was called to submit my documents and all of that, I didn't go into the big four audit firm. And that was where I was taking the boot camp, right? I took a boot camp, data analytics boot camp, a 2-month boot camp. At the time, my whole focus was accounting, accounting, accounting. But some way, somehow, I had to trust God for what He was saying and then take data analytics seriously because every time I would pray, the edge to study, God will be like, you take it seriously, because I was not taking it seriously. I was really not taking it seriously. I was just joining the classes to while away time. But yeah, that was it. So after the 2 months, in Ghana, there's something called national service. Okay, God, I'm not going to the big four. So what next? I was posted to a hospital, a health center actually. Hospital sounds very bougie. I was posted to a health center in one far away place I had never been before. I'm like, yo, you said I shouldn't go to the big four only to take me to this health center. You see, that phase of my life was really not cool. Like right now, I'm saying it and I'm smiling and all, but it was not fun. It was not nice. That is the truth. Because this was not what I planned. And so I go to this health center, someone who read accounting, I'm posted to the laboratory. I am supposed to be the laboratory administrator, right? So fast forward like 3 months into my national service and 3 months after taking the boot camp. During the boot camp, right, there was one time I was called out of the blue to demonstrate something, and I actually did. And so, like 3 months later, the facilitator who was running that boot camp reached out to me on LinkedIn to intern with him because he was running his own training organization. So that was where it all started. Because after the boot camp, I didn't know what step to take again. And I think that's one, like I mentioned earlier, one of the issues people face with their transitions after the boot camp. They don't know what to do. So I was pretty much in that phase, right? But yeah, you told me to take data analytics, but what's that next step? So I realized that God was just guiding me in my inside. He brought people my way to help me with the journey. So that facilitator, who was a CEO of a training organization, reached out to me on LinkedIn and said he would like me to intern with his organization. And I was excited. It was not a paid thing because a lot of people after boot camp, they are looking to land their first paid role. That's great, but it's not really like that because you need to practice what you studied in the boot camp. You need to get real hands-on experience, and that will come through volunteering and all of that. So I accepted the opportunity, and even though it was not paid, by the grace of God, I had access to resources like Coursera, Udemy, and all of that. And that made my journey pretty helpful. It played a huge role in my journey because quality resources are one of the things that pretty much make your journey easier. Quality resources and structured resources. I was doing my self study, I would learn, and as I was studying, he would, that's the CEO. We have a pretty good relationship even as at now. He would, notice my strengths. Like I was saying earlier that Power BI is one of my strengths, database and business intelligence. So he will notice my strengths and he'll go like, Jay, I got you this course on Udemy. I know you like it. Like he was just, buying the right courses for me and I was studying. God bless okay. He really helped in my data journey. So I was using those resources and my growth was pretty fast because I was always learning. Whenever I go to work and I have some extra time, I'll just switch to my laptop and be learning and just be learning. And like I was saying earlier, I used to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I'll be reading newsletters. It was a pretty much amazing opportunity for me. People think money is cash. Money is not always cash. Money can be resources. And I think that even though I was not being paid money, the benefits were worth it because I got access to premium learning sites like Coursera, Udemy courses, data camp, and all of that, all for free. And while learning, I will go through LinkedIn. I'll be looking at roles like data analytics roles or BI analytics roles. Then I'll be looking for what they really want from them. They'll be like, okay, you need to know Excel, Power BI, you need to have this, you need to know SQL and all of that. So I was pretty much being guided on the inside as to the next step to take. So I would just, okay, I need to learn this, then I'll learn this. Okay, I need to build a portfolio, then I'll build a portfolio. Okay, I need to, pretty much all of that. I was doing that. So my growth was actually very fast. And so after about 3 months of interning, he asked me to handle the women in tech cohorts that they were running. So I started teaching the little I had, no, not little, the what I had learned. People think you need to be like one guru to be able to teach, but teaching actually helps with the learning process. When you teach what you know, it sticks faster and you get better at it. right? So I would teach, and there was a curriculum. So I would teach these women over 6 to 8 weeks. Towards the latter part of the year, that was when I started taking LinkedIn seriously. After pretty much being grounded in the basics of data analytics, I now started sharing my journey online, sharing what I was up to, sharing some lessons I was learning, even while teaching and all of that. I did that. I didn't really know how to get started. That's one problem that people have. Okay, you are telling me to be visible, but how do I go about it? So I think I chanced on the visibility challenge with Gloria Novo, who is now my LinkedIn coach. I chanced on her visibility challenge, and that was how, she would generate certain prompts for 12 days. I think she ran about 6 of them, and all 6, I joined each and every one of them. So she would generate prompts on what you had to post about for days. She did one for 12 days, there was one for 30 days. There were different durations, but I just followed that challenge, and it was done in a community setting as well. So there was a WhatsApp group where you create your post and you post it, then you put the link in the WhatsApp group, and then those in the WhatsApp group are to engage, and you're also to engage with others too. So it was pretty much, so it made the visibility process easier because I had people, engaging and helping the process. So that was how it got started. All this while I was doing my national service. So after my national service, pretty much into like the following year, which is this year actually, at the beginning of the year, I had not really landed a full-time role yet, but every morning I'll wake up and behave like that. I'll wake up, sit down from 8, like I worked an 8 to 5, sit down behind my laptop. What am I doing? Learning, building, working on a data set, just doing something. So I was just doing something. I wake up every day. I had this regimen, and that's what I was talking about. That people set goals and they don't even know the right way to achieve those goals. One of them is regimen. Like you need to be disciplined enough to have a regimen. It is very boring. It can be boring, but you just have to do it. So I would wake up and behave like someone who had a 9 to 5. I'll sit down behind my laptop, learn, build a portfolio, something, just doing any and everything till like 5 and even after 5. So I'll use sites like Marvin Analytics, Data Camp, you know. And then I think that was when I entered one of the Marvin Analytics challenges, and I was one of the winners. Yeah. So I took that, and then later in the year too, I participated. I mean, 3 months on, I think in the second quarter, I participated in a hackathon where we're to use data visualization to come up with solutions to illegal mining, galamsey in Ghana. It's a very serious matter in
Yeah.
Ghana. And at the time, conversations were at an all-time high. I took it as an opportunity to leverage data to solve that problem. I didn't even know we could use data analytics for that, but entering that hackathon like exposed me to the environmental aspect of data, because whenever we think data analytics, we are thinking organizational data, but as exposed to the environmental side of things. So I entered hackathon, and then I imaged top 2 and best female participants. And that was where pretty much everything began to like explode. When that post went up, a lot of people noticed me. I think that was the turning point, let me say, in my visibility process. That was how people got to know about me from there. Because I made that post and it skyrocketed everywhere, and it just kept on leading from one thing to another. One uh very high value client reached out to me to train some finance leaders in Power BI. And he was not even on my LinkedIn connection. So I was like, just keep showing up. People are seeing what you are doing, but they are just not the ones that have the money for you. They are not commenting on your post. So don't be discouraged. Reached out to me, and yeah, we had a pretty good rapport since then, because most of the subsequent gigs that I had were from there. And during the hackathon too, how I got to co-found the AI startup was that my co-founder was at the hackathon. According to him, he was not even paying attention, but when he heard my voice, He came to the hall to come and see who was this girl presenting and all of that. And that was how he noticed me. And then we spoke after, and one thing led to another. And I signed on as the co-founder of Kixara. So that has pretty much been my journey. And right from there, I've just taken my visibility seriously, personal branding seriously, and all of that. And I am still in the transition process. A lot of people think I have it all figured out. I'm still, finding my feet. But yeah, that's basically it. But God has been the main factor in my transition journey. And that is why I have a story. Because really, all I wanted to be was a chartered accountant. Still plan all of that, but by grace of
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful journey. Honestly, you've shared a lot of really, really, really important lessons that people would literally pay to get. And one thing I saw as a constant, will I say, theme in your story is the place of God. Then there's dedication and, will I say, courage. Because it's one thing for God to tell you, you do this, start this thing. And then it's another thing to step into that purpose. And it's another thing to be dedicated to doing, because I'm sure while learning, you must have faced difficulties. Okay, this is hard to understand.
I
And
I recently spoke at a graduation ceremony. It was actually a Nigerian training organization or something like that. And someone was asking me how, a lot of people give up after the boot camp, that part where you
true.
take the boot camp and then you're like, okay, where's the job? Take
Mm-hmm.
dollars and all of that. I did not get my first big girl pay until like after maybe 15 months. Let me say
Wow.
that. Like a whole year, I was learning, volunteering, and all of that, but I was not exactly being paid the tech dream that everybody wanted, because me, all I wanted was a remote data analyst who paid in dollars. I was not exactly seeing that, but I had to stay because I've told people that God said I should go and pursue data analytics. Am I now about to let that word fall to the ground? I had to prove that I really heard God, because I cannot start and give up in the way. It was actually very tough because I was not seeing anything. Everywhere was quiet around me. No opportunities were coming in at the time. Like there was that what people call lock in. It was literally locking for me because everywhere was logged in. I was logged in. Everything was logged in. I was not hearing anything, no gig, nothing. Like everywhere was pretty much silent. And then I'm seeing my friends who went into the big four. They look like they are enjoying their lives. I'm like, what is this? And I'm in one health center somewhere studying data analytics on the side. I'm like, really? Like God. But I had to stay. I had to even keep going when it was boring, when it looked sad. It didn't look attractive then, honestly. Like one whole year of my life, it was like I was shut in one place, building capacity. Right now, I realized that I was actually building capacity for the next phase of my life, even though it didn't look like it. So I think that's one thing. And when the lady asked me what keeps me going, I mentioned that you need to have a strong why. Sometimes money is not a strong why to pursue a career or to pivot careers, because you may not see that money for the longest time. So I don't say you're going to stop because you are not
Yeah.
seeing that money. Yeah, you need to have a strong why. That why will drive you even in your studies. What was making me wake up at 8, sit behind my laptop till 5 when I was not working in quotes? It
Yeah.
had to be, the drive had to be from somewhere. You have to be internally driven from by something. You just need to have a strong why. That's one of the ways to achieve your goals. Your why is very, very important. So yeah.
Yeah, you really shared such an important point. And thank you for stopping me and sharing that story, because I hope this is an encouragement to someone in your learning journey. I know it's easy to look at people that are building what you want to build, and then you're asking yourself, why am I not there yet? Just know that it takes time. Maybe there are like outliers that might, make it after 1 month,
Six
but
months.
but that's not everybody. And even those outliers you're seeing that supposedly made it after 6 months, it could really be that they took their time to learn. There's something that they were building behind the scenes. If you're someone in your learning journey, it's so easy to look at other people's journey and feel like, why am I not there already? So it's very important for you to own your path, trust your process, be patient with yourself. Instead of worrying, the time you're going to use to worry, to be anxious, just like Joycelyn, spend it learning, volunteering, building your portfolio, building your track record. That is a more important use of your time than worrying. And one thing that is so important that Joycelyn mentioned was being able to volunteer unpaid labor. Sometimes because of your why is in the money, the dollars you want, and I'm not saying that's necessarily bad.
Yeah.
It's valid because at the end of the day, we all want to be paid. We all want to be able to afford certain things in our life, and that's valid. But sometimes you can miss out on big opportunities
Yeah.
just because of that. So imagine if Joycelyn was like, you know what, I'm not going to attend this boot camp. I'm not going to attend this internship. I mean, you're not paying me. My time is valuable. I've learned a lot. Like, should have missed out on all these
Literally,
opportunities.
I think someone was asking me that how long have I been speaking this year? I mean, I've had some huge speaking opportunities, like opportunities to speak. And one person was asking me like, how long have I been doing this? I look like a pro, I speak like a pro, and all of that. And I think the volunteer role, the internship where I was volunteering, was like a major player in my speaking journey because I used to have these training sessions and I would record them. I would like there were so many things I learned while doing that. I learned how to edit videos. I would record my own training sessions. I would listen to them again, listen to, where I went wrong. And then even before the trainings, we used to have like TOT, something called TOT, trainers of training of trainees or something, training of trainers or something like that, where the CEO would literally run through what we are going to teach as though we are teaching, and then he'll correct certain things that we have to correct. So he'll be like, oh, maybe when you're talking, you do like you make some sounds with your mouth. You should check this. You should check that. All those things help. And I didn't know that I was getting like speaking experience from there because I used to speak to the woman and all of that. I'll listen, make corrections and all of that. So one thing I'll say is yes, we have been trained to only see money as cash, like dollars. But that is not only money. Money, you need to, one thing I'll say is we need to redefine money. Money is not necessarily the cash. It's value, it's resources, it's experience, all these things that you are learning. You wouldn't have learned it anywhere if you were not given the opportunity to do it. So even though you think the opportunity is unpaid, there are certain things you are definitely going to take away from it. Yeah. So I'm not saying the money is not important, but there are other experiences that will take you far and actually bring you the huge sums of money you are looking for. And you can learn them for free through these volunteer roles. So that's one thing I also like to chip in.
Yeah, thank you so much. Especially as a beginner,
Yeah.
Talking about volunteering opportunities, what platforms would you advise people to check for these opportunities? Because maybe someone watching might be like, okay, I hear you, Joycelyn, but where do I find these opportunities?
So
Can you
I
talk?
was privileged to have the opportunity come to me, but one way is to also look around you. Sometimes even where you are currently working, sometimes there are people trying to transition, but they are already currently in a certain industry, in a certain organization that they are working in. And there's some work they are doing there. You can create opportunities there. Let me say it that way. You can create opportunities where you use, so for someone in data, for instance, where you use data, the data you have, data is everywhere. So where you use the data you have currently to solve a problem. There are gaps everywhere. See, you really have to just tune your mind to see them. The health center I was at, for instance, right? I There was an issue where we were running out of certain key lab tests like food blood count, malaria, H. pylori, like very, very important tests. And we would run out of stock that we need to be able to take those tests. And these tests were tests that were being run particularly by pregnant women. Like it was part of their routine labs. It was very important because pregnant women are high risk patients, right? Now the pregnant women have to resort to private services, which are very expensive. And because of the kind of community where the health center was, they would not go to the private service because it's expensive. So they'll stay in their homes. And that was risky for pregnant women who are very high risk patients, right? It was a problem that was going on for a very long time. Like it kept recurring. And so I said, okay, why not? So I spoke to my colleagues in the laboratory. I said, okay, let me develop an inventory management system that was going to help us track stock. So we don't wait till stock is done before we request for more. We can see the quantities as and when they reach certain thresholds. And that was one way I applied my data analytics skills. Actually, the whole process. So I had to collect data, I had to clean data, build a data model. I literally had the opportunity to practice my skills from scratch. It wasn't the only way to solve the problem, but it contributed to solving the problem, right? And it was also an opportunity for me to use real world data and get experience from it. So that was one way I created an opportunity around me. And doing that also helped in building my portfolio. So one of the ways to get opportunities to volunteer is to literally create them where you are. If you are not in any place, you can reach out to like your friends who run sole proprietorships, businesses. You can tell them that you can track their sales and make recommendations based on what you are doing. You would have to pitch to them in a way, in a language that they understand. Like, okay, what does it mean? Yes, they will not pay you, but you'll be getting experience. So these are one of the ways. You can also volunteer with NGOs, communities, and all of that. So these are ways you can get, informal experience before actually applying for the main role that you want to go for.
Thank you so much for sharing. So we can talk a bit about Kizara. So can you just share that journey? I know you mentioned that you were pitching somewhere and you just mentioned kind of like a pitch now, and your co-founder heard your voice, heard you pitching and decided to reach out. Can you share a bit of how that journey from, learning data, using data to now using that knowledge that you have to build a startup?
Okay, so yeah, you pretty much said it. We met at a hackathon when I was presenting my solution, and then I got on board with Kizara. It was pretty new. Kizara is pretty new. I joined right about where we're planning to take our MVP out there for people to see what we are doing, right? Yeah, there are transferable skills, but I've had to learn on the job. One thing is you need to have the love for learning because you always have to learn, continuous learning wherever you find yourself. Even in the tech industry, so many things are coming up every day. So you have to be ready to learn. So I've had to learn certain things that were not necessarily what I was studying, even with data analytics. I had to learn marketing. I've had to learn product design, product management, and all of those things. And some of the things you don't even realize that that's what you are learning. What does Kizara really do? Like I mentioned earlier, it is an AI powered e commerce platform. It helps e commerce business owners to go build their websites within 5 minutes by prompting it to WhatsApp. Right now we have NLP, like natural language processing. You don't have to code to be able to get your own software. You can just talk in the language that you understand, and then yeah, so you talk in a familiar language, and then the prompts are generated in the back end to get you your website, right? And where is it coming from? It's coming from the place of many, specifically Ghana, because we conducted market research, right? So specifically in Ghana, a lot of merchants are closing their deals on Instagram, closing their deals on Snapchat, posting their deals on WhatsApp, across different social media. But it's not sustainable if we really want to scale a business to a certain point, right? At a point, you need to be separated from the business to some extent. Okay, the business should be able to run without you being there all the time. So one of the ways, aside the fact that many businesses want websites to enhance their brand image and make shopping easier, one of the key value propositions of Kixara is that it helps with efficient order management or order fulfillment. One culture around here is that you now text the vendor. The vendor will now send you what they have available. Sometimes on their Instagram, you can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, and you now have to tap and see whether it's available, sold out. Sometimes you have to DM for price and all of that. You see, all those things make the shopping experience pretty hectic. So the website helps with that. They can browse your catalog, they see everything you have available, they initiate the shopping process. They pay right there, they check out, they pay, and then you receive their details and everything you need to get the products to them in your WhatsApp as a clean message. They don't know how to DM you and find out what do you have in stock, do you have my size, okay, where do I make the payment? Like all those enquiries take time, and then they make the shopping process a little hectic. That's one of the ways Kixara is making shopping easier. It's not only helping business owners to go online, but it's also making the shopping experience easier for their customers as well. That's one way we are helping business owners in Ghana using AI. Yeah, that's pretty much about Kixara, and the process has been amazing. I mean, I've had to step in a leadership role. Leadership can look fancy sometimes, but it comes with responsibilities. It's like there's that responsibility on you to make sure that the thing is working, there's growth, there's progress, and all of that. But it has been an amazing experience so far. I'm learning a lot, and yeah, that's pretty much about Kixara.
I love what you're building, and I'm rooting for you and your team.
Yeah. Thank you.
Before we end the session, maybe you can give one advice to anyone that is transitioning from any field.
Okay, advice. I've said so much on my LinkedIn. I'm always advising career transitions. But let me see. What would I say on Nenye's channel? I'll pretty much say that mindset is very important, regardless of the transition you're trying to make. If you are transitioning, I mean, there may be many reasons why you're transitioning, but one mindset block a lot of people tend to have with respect to tech a lot, especially for the women. They have misconceptions like it's a male dominated space and it's tough, coding is hard and all of that. All those things affect your transition process. So if you are trying to transition and you have certain mind blocks, it may delay your transition process. So you should have the right mindset. You should be able to get yourself to be in a position where you are confident that you can make this transition, you can be successful at it, regardless of the roadblocks that you may face. You would still get the point that you are trying to get to. And this is not cliche, it's actually proven. I I mean, when I was pursuing on my journey, I did not. Sometimes too much information is also part. Like we are seeing so many things on social media. I didn't have to see all of that in the start, so it made my journey easy in a sense. Not that I would have considered them anyway, but I didn't have those preconceived notions that it's a male dominated space. I'll struggle to get opportunities. I'm a woman and I'm going to be sidelined and all of that. I'm not saying those things are not real. They are. But if you let those things weigh you down, it can delay your process in a way. So you should look, find a state where you should be in, that you should be able to believe that whatever journey it is you're going to go on, regardless of the roadblocks that you'd face, you'd still be successful at it, because you will be successful at it if you successfully push through the roadblocks that you face, because challenges make men, challenges make you give you a story. So definitely you face some roadblocks and some challenges, but having the right set would help you to overcome them and would also help your transition process greatly. So mindset is very, very important in anything you're trying to do in life. The mindset, you should have the right mindset.
I agree. I agree. This was such a beautiful and insightful conversation. You all can follow Joycelyn on LinkedIn. Just search her name, her full name. Do well to follow her. She shares a lot of insightful stuff as well. So thank you so much.